Hi, I'm Brady Ritchie from St. Louis, Missouri, shareholder since 1996.
Terrific.
Warren, you and Charlie have been critical of business schools in the past and what they teach. With respect to value investing and super investors of Graham and Doddsville, you featured the returns of many great investors with different backgrounds, work, and education, with the lesson being following the philosophy is the key. To be successful today, does it still just fall back to Chapter 8 of The Intelligent Investor? And what do you think of programs and designations such as CFA, CFP, et cetera, which purport high standards, yet rooted heavily into academia? And I'd like to challenge you to a round of bridge tomorrow.
And what was the last part?
What do we think about
Yeah, business schools and all that.
business schools and all that?
I didn't catch the last one.
They're better.
Oh, he's challenging me to a round of bridge. Okay. I went to 3 business schools, and at each, I found a teacher or two. I went to one specifically to get a given teacher, but each one of them I found a teacher or two that I really got a lot out of. So we're not anti-business school here at all. They strayed pretty far, in our view, from the reality of investing. And I would rather have a person, if I could hire somebody among the top 5 graduates of number 1, 2, or 3 of the business schools, and my choice was somebody that was bright, but had Chapter 8 of The Intelligent Investor. Absolutely, it just was natural to them. They had it in their bones, basically. I take the person from Chapter 8. This is not, what we do is not a complicated business. It's got to be a disciplined business, but it does not require a super high IQ or anything of the sort. There are a few fundamentals that are incredibly important, and you do have to understand accounting, and it helps to get out and talk to consumers and start thinking like a consumer in many ways in certain industries and all of that. But it just doesn't require advanced learning.
Well, when you found Ben Graham, he was unconventional, and he was very smart. And of course, that was very attractive to you. And then when you found out it worked and you could make a lot of money while sitting on your ass, of course, you were an instant convert. And so...
It still appeals to me, actually.
Yeah.
I mean,
but the world changed. Before he died, Ben Graham recognized that the exact way he sought undervalued companies wouldn't necessarily work for all times under all conditions. And that's certainly the way it worked for us. We gradually morphed into trying to buy the better companies when they were underpriced instead of the lousy companies when they were underpriced. And of course that worked pretty well for us. And Ben Graham, he outlived the game that he played personally most of the time. He lived to see most of it fade away. I mean, just to find some company that's selling for 1/3 of its working capital and figure out it could easily be liquidated and distribute $3 for every dollar of market price. Lots of luck if you can find those in the present markets. And if you can find them, they're so small that Berkshire wouldn't find them of any use anyway. So we've had to learn a different game, and that's a lesson for all the young people in the room. If you're going to live a long time, you have to keep learning.
yeah.
What you formerly knew is never enough. So if you don't learn to constantly revise your earlier conclusions and get better ones, why, I always use the same metaphor. You're like a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest.
Yeah. If anybody has suggestions for another metaphor, send them to me. Graham, incidentally, one point, important point, Graham was not scalable. I mean, you could not do with really big money. And when I worked for Graham Newman Corp., here he was, the dean of all analysts, and he was an intellect above all others around that time. But the investment fund was $6 million, and the partnership that worked in tandem with the investment company also had about $6 million in it. So we had $12 million we were working with. Now you can make adjustments for inflation, but and everything. But it was just a tiny amount. It wasn't really scalable. And the truth is, Graham didn't care because he really wasn't interested in making a lot of money for himself. So it had no reason to want to find something that could go on and become larger and larger. So the utility of Chapter 8 in terms of looking at stocks as a business is of enormous value. The utility of Chapter 20 about a margin of safety is of enormous value. But that's not complicated stuff. Yeah.